into travel, here we go. Got that AI on the low, taking flights to and fro, booking trips in a snap with a simple chat flow. AI, revolutionizing how we roll. Gonna hop on a plane.
Welcome to another episode of the Everything AI in Travel podcast, where we hear from the makers, shapers, and buyers of AI technology in the travel space. Here's your host, Tony Khan.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Everything AI in Travel podcast. And today I've got a guest I've been chasing, for about 18 months to get him on the show. It's Oliver Green. I'm sure many of you may know Ollie. He has been on stage at the Arrival conferences. He's a prolific poster on LinkedIn. We're going to learn a little bit about Ollie's background and talk about some of the things, because he's not only a talker, he's a doer and a builder. So welcome to the show, Ollie.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Glad to finally be on.
For sure. We've set up at the front in front of audiences before and had a bit of banter, and it's always been good fun. And so I've been dying to get you on here. But before we get into all the good AI stuff, and as I said, you're probably the most prolific builder of things I know out there, and the ability that you have to share that with everyone is just incredible. So everyone out there should follow Ollie. But let's talk a little bit about your background. Where have you come from, particularly in the tours and activities space? How have you found your way here?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is I went backpacking or traveling around Europe in my early 20s, and I ended up with a summer job selling tickets outside the Colosseum. I met 4 friends out there as well, and great lads, and we set up together a company called Carpe Diem. So the past 7 years, we were building that company together. Recently, in January, I decided to leave to pursue my own interests, and since then, I've been a consultant in the space and working with other small operators around. Today, I'm working mainly with Arrival, as you mentioned on the stage, and Eating Europe, which has been really enjoyable so far.
Very good. Now, there's another thing in your bio that I want to dig into a little bit, because you weren't just really a backpacker floating around Europe with nothing to do. There's an agency in there somewhere, right? So you're actually a gun marketer. Tell us a little bit about the agency.
Yeah, there's a couple of agencies. So there's an agency I started during COVID. So basically, of course, travel stopped during COVID, as we all know, and back against the wall, I had to choose something else or work out how to make an income. So I started a Shopify agency called Create Circus. I learned a lot from that agency. I learned how to write a basic code. I learned how to market. And of course, I learned the whole e-commerce space in general, which has been super helpful as I move forward within our industry. The agency grew to one of the bigger Shopify agencies in the UK and became a Shopify expert agency. Since then, I sold it again at the end of last year. I do still work with them, but now I've started a new agency called Tourstack. Tourstack is basically, it's tours and stack, tech stack together, Tourstack, and that's what I like to talk about on my LinkedIn. My agency focuses on content, so I'm pushing out content, as you've mentioned, on LinkedIn, talking about the things I'm building with Claude, talking about stuff like Hermes and agentic work. I love SEO and social, of course, as we've done a few social panels together over the years.
For sure.
So yeah, Tourstack is what I'm focusing on at the moment.
Very good. And why did you focus on Shopify?
It's a good question, because with my friend, Bruce, we worked together and we opened a blue light glasses company during COVID. So what happened during COVID? Everyone was stuck behind the laptops. They were getting fatigue, and we saw an opportunity to create a company that sells blue light glasses. We did extremely well in terms of the design and the setup and the structure. And we put it forward to Shopify, and we said I wanted to use this example to build an agency, and they liked it and they approved us. And off the back of that, of course, during COVID, everything was going online. So people weren't able to sell in their stores anymore. So that the opportunity was there and the leads were coming in thick and fast. So yeah, that's why we went for Shopify. We saw an opportunity and we grabbed it.
Very good, very good. I've seen stuff in the last couple of days, and this is kind of taking us off on the first, I'm sure, of many tangents in there, but the founder of Shopify has been talking on LinkedIn in the last couple of days about how incredibly they are positioned for agentic commerce because of the rails, right? Because of the data structure that they've built for all their businesses that use them is the same, which therefore makes it more easily navigatable for agents to access the information. And I think they've build an MCP. That was probably what brought about the comments on LinkedIn. So tell me what you think when you hear that, and then maybe flip that into our world in the tours and activity space. And does that therefore somehow apply to OTAs who may be similar in that they have a breadth of product and this one set of rails that's easy to navigate? Just I'd love to hear any thoughts you might have about that, just because of your crossover experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a debate over in Washington last year. I rivaled the directs versus the OTAs. Generally speaking, the OTAs, they have all that data, just like Shopify. Their products are structured the same. So you would think in terms of AI visibility and AEO that the OTAs would definitely pull ahead on that. But that doesn't mean that the operators don't have a chance. What the most important thing is to actually learn from this and actually structure your data properly. Make sure your review schema, your FAQ schema, and your website is well structured for LLMs. And yeah, going back to the Shopify example, that is just a perfect example. The merchants on Shopify are pretty much using the same structure. There are variants in themes, but the liquid code is the same, and people are able to show up easily in LLMs. And I think we have the same opportunity as operators to make a move now. It's not a time to be sitting there waiting for something to happen. It's a time to actually preemptively get things going, get your website in order, get your structure in order, get your content in order. LLMs are going to favor richer content if you've got more information, if you've got embedded videos, etc. So all the in general, all the same principles apply. The same SEO principles apply, and it's going to pull forward to LLMs as well. So now's the time to really start moving.
There is no Shopify in the tours and activities world, and I'm sure whoever's out there that has built it probably would say that's not correct, but I can't think of who it might be. I know, for example, that Fair Harbor used to build sites for its customers, and I know that they've stopped doing that and even closing those sites down. So that was one thing that was quite close. But so given that the setups that any particular tour operator might have are going to be different to the next tour operator, how can some kind of standardization happen, or what can each individual operator practically do to give themselves the best advantage? Like, how might that come about?
To be perfectly honest, your best tool right now is these AI models. You could go into Claude now, ChatGPT, or whatever your LLM of preference, and you can ask, and you can literally say, look, this is my website. You can even post a link in. If you've got the Claude Chrome extension, it's going to navigate to the site and read it for you. You can ask, what's the best tactics for me to improve my site for visibility right now? And it's going to go ahead and it's going to crawl, and it's going to come back and it's going to give you an audit of your website. It's going to say this page is missing a H1 tag, or you don't have any structured data for the reviews here on this product page, etc. Or there isn't enough keyword density, no internal linking, and so on. It's going to give you that data. It's going to give you that report. Now, here's the beauty of it right now. So let's say it gives you that report. If you're using a model such as a Claude and you've got the Chrome extension, you can actually then ask it to go ahead and implement those changes. So you can say, please go in, change it. Of course, you will back up your theme before, as you would in any case when you're making changes. But you can actually ask it to go ahead and make those changes. It's something I'm doing on a regular basis. I personally have a Hermes agent, an SEO agent, that goes in and it updates it's plugged in with an app. It has an app password connection. It can go into WordPress and it can update the SEO itself. So your best tools right now are the LLMs. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you're stuck, just literally ask. Just say, this is my website. This is what I'm aiming to do. I want to show up for this keyword or this tour. Give me an action plan. Give me an action plan. Give me in a PDF. Give me in a Google Sheet, and then go for it. Then just say, please go ahead and implement it. And if you're plugged in via the Claude Chrome extension, or if you're using an agent like Hermes or OpenClaw, and you've given access to the website, it can go ahead and make those changes.
Incredible.
It is.
Can't wait to see what people might do with that.
Yeah.
With a tour operators, okay, so you mentioned WordPress there, and I'm sure many of the people who are in that industry are probably on a WordPress website, but then their tour information, their rates, etc., is coming from a ResTech and might be sitting as a widget or something on the side, not necessarily embedded in that website. Then how does that work out? So what can they do about that where they don't control that infrastructure?
So as if someone else like FareHarbor built the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing to do would to actually communicate with your account manager at FareHarbor or at any of these platforms, WeTravel, etc., that built the website, and just ask them what their strategy is for what's their strategy for the future of search and discoverability, and see if that aligns with your goals, and if it aligns with what you've been given by the information by the LLM when you've asked how to rank, and perhaps share it, push forward. That would be the best thing to do, and then just make sure it's implemented. But again, even with these websites that are built by the res techs, you can still get some of the basics down, like having FAQs, review schema, get a blog there to add rich content around the topics or the tours you rank for. So you can still do those right away today.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Now I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey here, because you put a post out a couple of weeks ago where you talked about basically the 10 things that people could look to do right now. And I thought we might just run through the list, and I'll give the kind of the heading, and then you can fill in what it actually means and how people might go about that in as succinctly as you can. So the first one was build your company brain. That sounds like a big job. How would somebody go about doing that?
Absolutely. Yeah. A company brain is you're giving the LLM full context of what you do and what your company does, what it offers. So you can include, product pricing, meeting points, guide names, your profit and loss calculator, so you can understand how many tours you need to break even, those sort of things. So a brain is basically, it's a markdown file, which is a text file. Okay. When you build a brain, whether that's in Claude or if you're connected to Obsidian and ChatGPT or Codex, you're giving the LLM the full context of you. And it's a little bit like memory. So if you talk with ChatGPT right now and you ask it a question, I'm going to Japan next week, and you're in Japan and you ask a question of where to eat, it's going to understand, it's going to remember that you went there, and it's going to give you recommendations based on what you said to it. It's a little bit like a memory, but it's able to pull much larger context. Okay. To go about doing that, there's a few guides. The best method I personally use is the Carpe method, which is the self-learning brain. You can just put it onto YouTube. You'll get a quick walkthrough on how to do it. You can do it as a project folder in Claude. A lot of people do it like that, or you can have the desktop. You can have a folder hosted on your desktop where you build out the brain there. But it's my recommendation. But my recommendation is to get that done first. But there's one thing you should be doing as well, which I mentioned in that article to begin with, and that's making sure everything's connected as well. So getting your Google Sheets connected, your calendar connected, everything that you use to run your business, connect that up to Claude or your model. If you pair that with the brain, then the context window is huge. You can pull anything. You can pull your Google Ads spend against the history in the brain of what you spent last month. You can cross-reference it with, let's say you're using Boken and you've connected the API, you can cross-reference it with that. So getting connected and building the brain are the two primary steps, in my opinion.
So 2 questions. Is it dangerous and is it expensive? And by dangerous, okay, here's everything about my company now connected to this thing. Can that leak?
Look, I would say whether it can leak or not, I'm honestly not sure in terms of what will happen, because you see these companies like Microsoft that you sign up to and your data is safe, and then the next day in the news, everything leaks. I do put preemptive measures in place. So what do? Let's say I'm doing analysis of previous bookings. I will remove I'll remove personal information from that analysis. So let's say I export from a res tech the past 12 months booking. I'll simply remove the name and number field and email. I don't need those fields. Okay. I might sometimes just remove the second half of the number if I'm looking to understand where the customers came from. But the point I'm trying to make is, do take preemptive measures. Don't put customer data into the LLM if you feel it's not safe. And I personally don't put customer data in there. Claude, ChatGPT, etc. They have a lot of the AI safety certifications, which they like to share and shout about, and they are confident that it's safe. But
yeah,
it's always best to be cautious.
Like, I'm putting all the information around pricing for my tours into this thing. I guess that's probably where most people's minds would go. That's my IP. That's probably the most valuable thing to my company. It's my competitive advantage. It's whatever. I guess that's where people probably most nervous about. At the moment, it's probably sitting on a spreadsheet that anybody could copy and walk out the door with, but I just want to get the point across. That what are your thoughts on that?
So of course, some parts of pricing are always available anyway on OTAs or on the front end. But if we're talking about like cost of goods, vendor pricing, etc., and that, yeah, 100%. For me, I'm not worried, but if you are, there are other options. You can run models locally, like LM Studio. You can run locally on your machine, and that way it isn't shared. LM Studio is something I use when I'm flying, not because I'm nervous about safety. It's just because I want to keep working while I'm here, while I don't have any internet. And it's a great offline model. You can plug in some great models. So yeah, you have the option of running all this data through offline, where it's just hosted locally on your machine. And then the safety is the same as if anything you have on your desktop in your machine. So yeah, that's something you can do. In terms of like a competitor going into your Claude account or your ChatGPT account and seeing pricing or any company secrets, I just wouldn't happen unless they have your login details. And of course, you can also enable 2FA as well for an extra step of security.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the way I counter that, and I'm asking these questions because I know they've come to me as well, and the way I answer it is if it was leaking out, if important information was leaking out of companies, we'd know about it, right?
Yeah.
The company, it'd be the first thing that splashed all over the LinkedIn and probably the news and probably our social media feeds. Like it would be the biggest news ever if it was happening. And so I guess that's kind of, I don't know if that gives people comfort or not, but it's probably not. And the other point is costs, right? Is this really expensive? All this AI stuff?
It depends. So it goes down to usage. Okay, so how much you use it. Like to get on a Claude plan, you're looking at your pro plan of $20 a month. Okay, that will be suitable for many people. I'm personally on the max plan because I'm doing a lot of work with different clients, or I'm building with code, which is very expensive. But yeah, you can get started so going back, there's actually free plans. You can join Claude ChatGPT for free. I think there's a ChatGPT plan Go, which is around $7 or something a month. But for your average pro subscription across any models, you're looking at 20 US a month. So relatively speaking, I would say not expensive based on the return you can get and the insights you can get into your business.
Yeah, for sure. And for what most people need, that plan is more than enough. And I think there are stories out there of, it's gone rogue and it's ended up costing me $10,000 or whatever. And that's generally people using the API, right? That's people building software that they then want to share with other people to also use. But what you're talking about here is an individual building something inside their own business. It's one-to-one software, right? You're building this native specifically for your business. It serves no other purpose for anybody else, and it's built specifically for you. And you can get the powerful models for $20. It's quite unbelievable.
Yeah, and in terms of going rogue, I've seen those stories as well. But luckily, you can actually put guardrails on that. You can go into the developer console and you can put a spend limit of $50 or $20. So if you do want to start sharing the API key for building or coding, I would definitely do that to begin with, so you can track your usage.
Yeah, for sure. So now we've got those guardrails in place. It's reasonably safe. It's not expensive. It's something everybody should do. Your next point in the article was to build artifact dashboards from a couple or hundreds of Google Sheets. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this is something that I see so often is when I visit or work with a company or I speak to someone on the marketing team, that they're looking at multiple Google Sheets, whether that's if they're checking social media data, impressions, etc., or if they're looking at promo code usage and sales across the business. It's all across different sheets or different tabs. Now, when we implement Claude Teams into businesses, you have the beautiful option to be able to share projects or artifacts between team members. So what I mean by this is you can take those Google Sheets. Remember I mentioned earlier about connecting. We can connect up our Google account. You can take those Google Sheets, you can put them into Claude, and you can ask it to visualize the data. Okay, so you can say, this is my Instagram metrics on my followers, impressions, etc. Visualize this into a dashboard. But it doesn't stop there. You can also collate it with other data pieces. So I could take I mentioned earlier the promo code usage. I could take the Instagram data, I could take the promo code usage. I can combine them into a single dashboard, okay? And then Claude can cross-reference any promo codes that might have originated from social media, and they can pull those trends. What we have then is we have one sheet, one holistic sheet that we're looking at that we can share between our teams and that we can speak to visually within meetings rather than going across different sheets. It's just a much better way to look at dashboards. Is nothing new. People have been building dashboards with Looker Studio, etc. For the past few years. Dashboards is the way to do it. It's definitely the best way to visualize and understand the data, in my opinion. So
the beauty is
Claude
now anyone can do it, and you don't need a special piece of software. It's just your AI account. Right? It'll just do it for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're using Claude Cowork, create a folder. You can call the folder, let's say marketing, stick in your Google Analytics data, export it to Google Search Console, your Google Ads, Microsoft Clarity heat map, put it all in there, connect it up to Claude and ask it to build you to spot trends, understand what's going on and build you a dashboard. And it's going to do it. And it's going to be impressive if you haven't done it before.
For sure. That's totally that. I love that example of social media impressions and affiliate code or promo code data. That's something that I work on every day with our clients. And I know you and I have worked on it before together as well, because like this is, in my opinion, the best marketing tool people have at the moment is to get creators through, put them on a trip for free and then give them a code and let them post as much as they want to try and make sales on the back of it. And this is the dashboard you can go to every day and see if it's working, right? And putting that stuff together used to be hard. It used to have to be trolled through information and you'd be guessing and whatever. Now it's not. I'm not sure we're going to get through all 10 because we've only got 10 minutes left. But your third one was build a revenue management skill. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely, yeah. So this was with Hermes. So this is with Claude, but now I'm actually doing it with Hermes, which is like OpenClaw and Agent. But so in this case, I connected the Boken API to a client's Claude account, and the Boken API was able to read the calendar, see how many spots are available, etc. And it was able to just make suggestions. So I connected it also to Slack, and it was able to push over connection suggestions. So for example, let's say there's a walking tour in London next week. There's 4 spaces taken and there's 10 left. Claude has that data because remember I said we connected everything earlier. So it understands the profit and loss, the break-even point of each tour. And it's going to know that those 4 packs means that the cogs are covered, the fixed cost of the guide is covered. And it's going to say, look, this tour is break even. You've got 4 days left to sell. Why don't you lower the price by 10, 15%? Anything that happens now, any sales that happen now is just your profit line, goes into profit. So this is the sort of thing you can do right now. I've been building it out with Hermes right now to pull data and understand all different tours across this client account from London to Paris, etc. It's working really well, and it feeds the data back into the bookings team, who's able to make these revenue changes pretty much instantly. Before, this might have come from the revenue manager or even the CFO, but at the end of the day, this is just data and rules, and it's pretty impressive what it's actually achieved and done so far. So yeah, that's an example of revenue management with Claude.
Very good, very good. The only quibble I had with it is I thought you were going to put the prices up. And you put the bookings covered. We've still got 4 days. Most of the bookings come in the last 2 days. I'll put the prices up and see if we can make money out of it.
But yeah, it's a good point. But it was using historical data and it understood the booking windows. But it could also happen, let's say you've got October coming and you're running a ghost tour. It's going to understand that. And this is going to be sold out. And it's going to say, look, double the price on the 31st because everyone wants a ghost tour. So yeah, stuff like that.
You mentioned it in the answer to number 3, but your 4th one is plug it into Slack. In that example where you're doing this revenue management on the fly, how does Slack play a part in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Slack, a lot of companies right now are using Slack as their internal comms tool. And Slack is just so much more than that. And I've always been a fan of Slack. Yeah, until someone's going to tell me next week that they vibe coded it or something. But anyway, yeah, I've always been a fan of Slack. And it's just a great way of plugging these AI and automations. I've been automating into Slack for the past 3 years with things like Make.com or Zapier, but now you can actually plug Claude in. They around 2 or 3 months ago, they launched it, maybe 2 months ago, they launched the tag Claude. And again, that means you can speak to Claude within Slack. It can read previous conversations and can understand bookings, it can understand what's happened. So yeah, one of the main things I would do if you're using Slack as a tool is to plug that in and give your team access to the Claude account. If it's using a brain or if it's connected to connectors like, as I mentioned earlier, revenue sheets, occupancy, etc., anyone will be able to pull or ask that information in real time on the account. Yeah.
And in that revenue management example you gave us before, and it's come up with this scenario and it says, hey, I think we should do this, it would just ping you on Slack and say, hey, we should do this.
Absolutely.
Do you want to do it? Yes or no, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the way I've built it now with Hermes particularly, it's in multiple channels. It's reading multiple channels and it's pinging people or relative stakeholders that do OTA changes or pricing changes. It's pinging them and letting them know that they should make these changes. Or even that I've got one automation right now where if a private tour comes in the next 48 hours, it routes it to the direct manager that deals with that. So they know they need to start picking up the phone and calling guides to get it covered, those sort of things. So it's just beautiful.
Very good, very good. Number 5 is run a full SEO audit and then actually fix the site.
Yeah, I spoke about that earlier in this call. One of the great things right now is, so it's important that you have an understanding of technical SEO, I think, from at least a base level to understand what each thing means, like schema markup, etc. You should definitely try to understand that before you just hand the keys to Claude to do everything. And again, understanding that is just asking the LLM, break it down, what does each thing mean? But yeah, the beauty of these models now is you can just plug your website in, do a full audit, and get all the list of the things you're not doing right, or even the things you are doing right, and then ask the Claude browser, the Chrome browser extension to make the changes. Or if you're using an agent like OpenClaw and Hermes and you're plugged in, you can do the same, make the changes there as well. So yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Brilliant. We got through 5 and we're down to 3 minutes, so I won't go on to any more at this point. But I would be interested in your perspective on how much time you think a manager at a tour company should be spending on their or with their Claude or their ChatGPT or Codex or whatever at the moment. Like, how much of their time should be in there?
Difficult one. It's a difficult one because my girlfriend says I should spend less time with it. But yeah, it's a difficult one. But I would say dedicate a good day of the week to learning these models and implementing it in your business, because things are moving so fast. And I'm not saying you could understand everything that's happening if you dedicate a day of the week, but you can definitely keep up. And one of the main ways that I learned everything I know about AI right now is just in doing. I've been very lucky because my partner has a tour company and I'm able to use that as a playground, build and learn all the things. So I'm very lucky that I have that operator perspective. But yeah, I would say at least a day of the week. Or if your company has the budget, put someone on this, dedicate someone into learning these things and giving a report on how things can be improved or changed, because I've seen it happen. I've seen jobs been replaced now with using these models. I've seen new jobs being created as well. So it goes both ways. So yeah, things are changing quick.
For sure. And there's probably somebody already in your business that's already like all over this. They're in their own personal life is probably halfway there and they're probably there. A minute to go. If people have liked what they've heard here, we'll get you back for the other 5, I think, because we'd be crazy not to. But if people have liked what they heard, where do they find you and what do you got coming up where people might be able to meet you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've got Arrival, Cocaine. I've got that coming up. I've got Fair Harbor Spark and the Port as well. If they want to find me, if anyone wants to find me, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm doing my best to share more AI content, etc. So yeah, please feel free to connect with me and follow me. Drop me a message. I'll be more than happy to chat, especially if it's about AI or social.
Indeed, yeah. Indeed. And your LinkedIn's booming and I recommend everyone follow it. And it seems like lots of people are. So you've got over 10,000 followers now, Ollie. Well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Brilliant. Hey, thank you for coming on and sharing a bit of your wisdom today. It's been highly enlightening and I hope people have got a real lot out of it. Thanks for joining us today, mate.
Thank you so much, Tony. Good to see you.
Cool. Take care, everyone. That's another episode of Everything AI in Travel. And as I said, we'll try and get Ollie back for another one and get through those other 5 because I'm sure there's a lot more gold in there. But for now, that's all it. We'll see you next time.
AI, in the travel game we go. Got that AI on the low, taking flights to and fro, booking trips in a snap with a simple chat bot.